When the final buzzer sounds and the NBA champions are crowned, it marks the start of the NBA offseason. For some fans, the offseason sparks hope as they land their hopeful franchise savior. And for others, it's a time of dread as your team prepares to squander yet another year. But for some people, the offseason is about Josh Smith eating breakfast. It's more than a meal, but an unbreakable bond. What makes this video just so special? That's what I've set out to find today. This is the story of Chef Brad Rouse, aka B-Rod. This is the man behind the meal. Before we begin, let's give some background info. Josh Smith was drafted 17th overall in the 2004 draft by the Atlanta Hawks, and he quickly became a rising star, winning the slam dunk contest as a rookie. Many remember Smith for his high-flying antics.
Not a pedicure, not a manicure, folks. That's what we call a facial.
He puts it up. It is no good. Jam follow Josh Smith.
While others remember him for spearheading the Rockets' comeback against the Clippers.
They were down 19. Green comes through the lane to the rim block. The layup was get it out of here by Josh Smith. And Smith, the step back three. Got it! That's unbelievable. Josh Smith just hit another three, and the Rockets lead by 9.
But before he crushed the Clippers' dreams, he was a bright-eyed kid eating breakfast, prepared by one man.
Chef Brad, B-Rod, my main man, preparing this good meal for me so I can have a good day at practice. Ain't that right, Brad?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Brad Rouse, B-Rod for short, was the executive chef for the Hawks from 2005 to 2012. He arrived via free agency alongside future All-Star Joe Johnson, and together with Smith, the three of them transformed the Hawks into a playoff team in the Eastern Conference. Their success was limited, and after being bounced in the first round by the Celtics in 2012, Johnson was traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and former Cavaliers GM Danny Ferry was hired to the same position. Unfortunately, with new management come sweeping changes, and Chef Brad was let go by the Hawks. So, what happens next? When the annual Josh Smith thread was posted, I was perusing through the comment section when a particular comment caught my eye. I wonder if Chef Brad still works for the Hawks. I knew what I had to do. Sifting through millions of Google results, I managed to find a man by the name of Bradley Rouse on LinkedIn who just so happened to be a former chef for the Hawks. Under the assumption that this was really him, I reached out in hopes of asking what he remembers about cooking Josh Smith's breakfast and his experiences with the Hawks as a whole. All that was left to do was to wait. 12 hours later, he replied. I gave him a bit of background info on my exposition of the legendary morning meal and asked if he would be interested in being interviewed, to which he happily obliged. We messaged back and forth for a while and set up an interview for the next day. After some technical difficulties, it was time to finally get to know the man behind the meal.
I'm ready, brother.
Brad, thank you for joining me today. And first things first, I just wanted to get to know how you got into cooking and how you ended up with the Atlanta Hawks.
Pretty much was cooking all my life and was working on a sushi bar in Miami, and Atlanta was home. I had a good friend of mine who was the chef of Phillips Arena, who was actually approached to work for the Hawks, and he had plenty of duties on his table already and suggested me for the job. We ended up having a cook-off with myself, Al Harrington's private chef, and one of the other former players' private chef, I can't recall, and I ended up getting the job. Yeah, ended up there and moved back from Miami to Atlanta and started, I think, in 2005 with the Hawks.
Yeah, I believe you came in 2005, same time as Joe Johnson signed there.
Yep, exactly.
With the Hawks, you cooked for a lot of guys like Josh Smith, of course, Joe Johnson, Zaza Pachulia, Tyronn Lue, Al Horford, Jeff Teague. Jamal Crawford. Is there any under the radar players that you developed like a good relationship with in the kitchen there?
All of those guys were pretty much there every day and great guys. Another guy that I kind of bonded with and talked a lot of story with was Salim Stoudemire. He actually had some special dietary needs. He went from transitioning his diet from only a chicken and fish diet to a completely vegan diet. Became a little bit challenging, but kind of, got me a little bit more time hanging out with Salim and just talking a lot and trying to, do things to keep the guys happy. You got to keep in mind they were younger guys who weren't necessarily out to eat a 5-star meal. They wanted something healthy and they wanted it to taste good. So
during your time with the Hawks, two players, Joe Johnson and Al Horford, they became all-stars. And then a third, Jeff Teague, eventually became an all-star. Do you think any of your cooking had to do with their success on the court?
I'd like to think so. A lot of the trainers and the staff was very happy, with the players' performance and the nutrition they were getting. A lot of times it took kind of tricking them into eating healthy. When they thought they were eating scrambled eggs, I called them egg lights. If the player wanted 6 eggs, it was 6 whole eggs and 3 whole eggs and 3 egg whites. So, it was just kind of getting them used to eating more healthy. A lot of the guys had no idea, what was healthy for them and what wasn't. I would get requests for certain meals and I'd be like, man, I can't feed you guys that, Wally will kick my butt, the head athletic trainer. I'm like, Wally won't let you eat that.
Is there any one player that you remember they would always request a certain dish?
Mike Bibby, he pretty much ate almost the same meal every day during season. I would go to his condo and cook for him after practice. Every morning he ate egg whites with toast, whole wheat toast. For lunch, he would eat something simple, usually fruit and a salad. And then for dinner, I'd go to his house and it would be whole wheat pasta, grilled chicken, marinara sauce, like clockwork, pretty much every day. And I was very surprised how one guy could eat the same thing, but he had his regiment and was, like I said, very dedicated and had a long career. So
sports science, nutrition, a lot of them have become heavily integrated into how teams prepare. Teams have dietitians, world-class chefs. I believe it was JJJReact. He once said Philadelphia's kitchen staff in their facility is maybe a top 10 restaurant in all of Philadelphia. What do you think the biggest difference is between cooking for professional athletes versus normal patrons?
In the beginning, it was pressure, I would say, a lot more pressure. I've always been in the restaurant business and cooked in high-end restaurants, Hollywood stars and politicians and things like that, but it just seemed like a different purpose feeding the athletes. The purpose was, number one, to get something in them. If it was post-workout, protein load for their body to recover and, pre-game carb loading for energy. So it just seemed like it had almost a different purpose than entertaining, really.
You currently reside in Hawaii and you work for one of their top sushi restaurants. How did that happen? Going all the way from Miami to Atlanta, now in Maui.
Well, I was in the sushi game for about 10 years in Miami and Atlanta prior to working for the Hawks. And had I not gotten the job for the Hawks, I probably would have never left the sushi bar. So going through a few general managers and remaining on the team, which is a challenge with all basketball operations, we had a management change. I can't remember the GM's last name. First name Jerry, came from Cleveland. When Atlanta got him, he pretty much wanted to start over. So my job had ended. And right when it ended, the first thing I thought was, I've got to get back on the sushi bar. And so working for the basketball team, having time off every summer, I was in Maui pretty much every summer. So I was like, well, I'm going to go to Maui.
There's a very infamous video that we mentioned in our discussions before, and it's Josh Smith eating breakfast featuring Chef Brad, a.k.a. B-Rod.
Yeah, that was funny. I liked it when he called me that, man.
Yeah, so in the video, he's eating an omelet with bacon, cheese, tomato, and he's got a little smoothie, and you're preparing, it looks like a breakfast sandwich for probably another player. Upon closer examination, it looks like maybe some eggs and some bacon are on that. But one thing Josh mentions is that he really likes trout sandwiches.
He cooked good trout for me. A trout sandwich or
And you said Josh got the whole team eating trout sandwiches.
Yeah, Josh got everybody eating trout sandwiches. So
what was so special about your trout? Does it have to do with your sushi background?
No, trout is pretty much cooked fully through, but we eat a lot of trout in Georgia, and Josh is a Georgia boy, So one day I was trying to get the team to go to healthier options because I would have a buffet out, but I also had a grill in there. And they were wanting to eat different sandwiches. So one day, one of my fish purveyors just said, well, I've got some trout today. So I brought some trout in and made some trout sandwiches. And Josh always liked fish. And he said, well, what do you have? And I said, well, I have some trout. You want a sandwich? And he ate one. And 2 bites in, oh, y'all got to get this trout, you know. And next thing you know, Joe Johnson was pretty much eating a trout sandwich every day after that. So it became like normal thing. I was buying 5 pounds of trout every 2 days.
Is there any other Georgia delicacies that the whole team enjoyed?
I don't want to say the whole team. Everybody was from everywhere. We had grits every morning, and it was always funny to me, you know, depending on what part of the country or the world the guys came from, whether they put salt on their grits or they put sugar on them. And me being from Georgia, I remember Marvin Williams was putting sugar on his grits, and I was like, okay, you can have it, but you're not supposed to do that, bro.
Is there any other like special memories that you have with the Hawks, any of the players that you'd like to share?
Well, the one thing, when I watched the video and I saw Josh call me B-Rod, he had a thing where whenever he was doing an interview with somebody, if they had a nickname, he always busted it out and let everybody know. And yesterday, I put the video up on Facebook just for memories, and one of the old TV announcers, I think he worked for Fox Sports South, his name was James Verrett, and his nickname was Big Country. And I remember the whole locker room bust laughing one time during a post-game interview where Josh is like, well, James, I mean, Big Country, you know. So when I heard Josh call that nickname, it was pretty typical of like his antics. He was always like in a good, positive mood. And it was pretty funny watching that from 11 years ago.
Do you still keep in touch with any of the players from back then?
No, I don't. Like some of us are connected on LinkedIn and a few on Facebook, but really not so much. You know, some of the coaches still talk to a little bit on Facebook. Coach Drew was always a big influence on me. I loved Coach Larry Drew. Coach Woodson was one of my favorite people that I've ever worked for. So I really had a good relationship with the coaches as well.
Obviously, the reason why I contacted you was because of the Josh Smith eating breakfast video. But I did mention in our initial conversation that it's very popular online among NBA fans. And every offseason, like to the T, as soon as a team wins the championship, someone posts the Josh Smith eating breakfast video. And that's kind of like, it's like the bat signal for the off season.
That's awesome.
I just wanted to let you know that even though you haven't had much contact with the team recently, like this video lives on in internet fame, and it's very popular amongst the online user base of NBA fans.
That's awesome. That kind of blew me away when I got your message, man. It was pretty awesome. I'm sitting here on the beach with my homies, and they're all laughing, man.
Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about your time with the Hawks, or just what you're up to now?
No, you know, if I could just tell everybody what's up and hello, hope everybody's well, and thanks for the opportunity. It was amazing. You guys call me, we'll do it again. Shout out, RNBA.
And there you have it, an interview with the one and only Chef Brad himself. Following our interview, I've kept in touch with B-Rod, and he even mentioned another Josh Smith story, which you can see on your screen now. I cannot thank Chef Brad enough for agreeing to do this interview with me, and I'd also like to thank RNBA for keeping the tradition of watching this legendary video going. Here's to many more years of watching Josh Smith eating breakfast to come. Thank you for watching.